G'day, Rob Eisenberg from voteearthnow.com here with Darren Brollo from the Animal Justice Party, who's running for Senate. And thank you for joining us, Darren. And love to hear about the Animal Justice Party, and in particular, with our obsession with this emergency of climate change, how it has affected animals, and in turn, how that will affect us humans.
Sure. Look, that's a really good question. I think, as you said, it is a global emergency. It's nothing short of a global emergency when we're looking at climate change. And not only is the planet getting warmer, but obviously weather patterns are becoming more unpredictable. So what we see is certainly the most vulnerable in our community. And of course, that's humans, displaced humans, refugees, as well as animals. I think the most vulnerable are the ones that are going to suffer the most, and certainly suffer the most quickly from the climate change that we're seeing. We're obviously, the Animal Justice Party is very concerned, and it's an area that we're working policy-wise, working very hard on, looking at being able to make significant change that will benefit all animals, including humans. But when we look at potentially the planet warming by 2 degrees, when we talk about the potential loss of not only biodiversity, but animals. I mean, we could see billions and billions of animals and massive loss of species with just a couple of degrees. So it's incredibly significant. So this is something that needs to be addressed immediately, needs to be addressed urgently. And unfortunately, our governments are not doing that.
The difference between 1.5, which we're on track for, and 2 or 3, if we go with the major parties' targets, will be critical.
Yes, absolutely. It's not, when we talk about those numbers, they sound small and insignificant. And I think that's the biggest concern, is that with no one is being an alarmist. It's, the science is in, we know the potential of another ½ degree. So it's, we need to act on this very, very quickly.
How much of a component of the problem is animal agriculture?
Look, I think it's quite literally the elephant in the room, Rob. It's something that people don't want to talk about. It's something that we see even the progressive parties not wanting to talk about. And, but when we look at the entire footprint, animal agriculture, and this is supported by, the World Health Organization, United Nations, animal agriculture contributes to between 49 and 51%, and that's conservatively to our entire effect on climate change. So, and we need to consider, when we talk about those numbers, that entire footprint. So we're talking about going all the way back to the beginning, the deforestation of land. We've immediately lost our carbon sink, and that deforestation to grow food, essentially grains and soy, to fatten up cattle. 85% of the food that's grown is to fatten up cattle. And of course, we all talk about, the joke about cows burping and farting and methane, but it's not a joke, because in fact, methane is 80 times more worse for our environment than carbon dioxide, and in fact stays in the atmosphere. This is almost our get out of jail free card. Only stays in the atmosphere for 10 to 12 years. Whereas carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere for well over 100 years. In fact, reportedly sometimes, some science says 400 years. So we can see a tangible difference very, very quickly if we can reduce animal agriculture. And that's purely just on greenhouse gas emissions. That doesn't include all of the other devastating effects that animal agriculture causes on our globe. But when we look at that difference in 10 years, in 1 decade, we could see a tangible difference if we can reduce and significantly work towards transitioning to plant-based agriculture.
Do you think voteearthnow.com will help voters make sure their climate message gets through to government?
I do, actually. I think it's a very powerful website. When I've had a very powerful tool, the resources that are there, the material that's available to download, and of course, it just allows friends and family to have those conversations and engage more. So I think it's really, really powerful.
And if you win your seat in the Senate, how will you use that power to expedite climate action?
Well, look, I think the very first thing we need to do is nationally, we need to declare a climate emergency. So we need to face the truth, we need to face the facts, and we need to address that as a very honestly, we are in the middle of a climate emergency. We need to end government subsidies of industries that are damaging the environment. There's no more time to waste on this, end the subsidies, and that includes coal, gas, and animal agriculture. But in order to do that without punishing the farmers, we need to then provide funding for the transitions. We need to provide adequate funding for transitions and education, of course, to make those transitions to plant-based agriculture. I believe very strongly we need to rapidly phase out our use of fossil fuels. So that needs to happen very, very quickly. I guess, in terms of, when we make those transitions to plant-based agriculture, I also believe that, we are then put in a position where we can look at our reforestation, rewilding. And, I think that's essential as well. We need to commit to, minimum targets, whether it be 30% by 2030. And I know there are these targets that people talk about globally. So we need to rewild as quickly as we can. It increases our carbon sink. And of course, in turn, we've reduced our animal agriculture, which is a win-win for our planet.